Hi all, welcome to i-tutor Academy. In today's session, we will start with the unit 14 of Mmpc 007, that is cross-cultural communication. So let's see the objectives of this chapter. Understand culture and its constituents, interpret the difference between different cultures, synthesize strategies for handling cross-cultural communication. And structure of this unit are introduction, characteristics of culture, theories of culture, cross-cultural communication, Hofstede's cultural dimension model, Hall's cultural model, cross cultural communication barriers, overcoming cross cultural communication barriers, lean media, rich media, and social media. Summary, keyword sections are there, self assessment questions also there. And the introduction of this chapter, culture has complicated manifestation, especially with the world consisting of nationalities exhibiting cultures that lies on extreme of the continuum of measuring culture. In the present era, when global business activities are indispensable, working with the colleagues and or clients from different culture is commonplace. Irrespective of the industry that you belong to, ability to effectively communicate is the core for modulating business. Organizations are located in a world that is interconnected in all manners. The changing norms of operations workplace have spread to accommodate remote teams operating in different parts of the globe, catering to a culturally diverse customer base and handling supplier base from wide ranging location. Hence, command on cross cultural communication offer an edge to organizational supremacy. The most interesting aspect of culture is that even though it has a complex constitution, there is an evident pattern that can be discovered and interpreted. Cultura, the Latin word meaning care of body, predominantly mind, is the source of the present word culture. Culture is a complex compilation of belief, customs, law, knowledge, traditions, etc., that a human being acquires while being a member of a particular society. Culture is something we experience by aligning to the people who have been a part of the culture. The most common definition of culture include music, art, and theater as the integral part. Culture could exist in various macro and micro system, and hence national culture, regional culture, corporate culture, food culture, traditional culture are common terminologies used to reflect the accepted and expected behavioral pattern of people belonging to a society. A macro culture could be constituted of multi subculture, and like Indian culture is a blend of diverse cultural backgrounds. It can be applied to any human collectively or category wise. Culture has a significant impact on our attitudes and actions, not only on how we behave but how we expect others to behave. For simplicity, the unit will use an operational definition which defines culture as inherent core value of a society promulgated through social interaction and teachings. So let's see the characteristics of culture. What are the characteristics? Acquired, collective, value system, stability, differentiator, contextual, common yet different. Okay, so now let's discuss one by one. What is acquired? Culture is what we acquire from individuals already experiencing the culture. This could be family member, teacher, schoolmates, or colleagues in an organization. Collective culture is not a thing that can be separated from the people. It is something that thrive with people, and it is common way in which most people think and behave. Since it is collective, hence different countries, regions, places could have drastically different culture depending upon the collective understanding of the people in that particular culture. Value system. Culture contribute to our value system. We tended to other to the core values postulated by our culture. This in turn tunes us to trust a particular set of values. Thus, a group belonging to similar culture holds preeminent values and stability. The core value of culture fundamentally remain the same and stable over long period of time. Any deviation from the core value may be reprimanded, being a prime for our value system, being something that does not have a form in itself, is largely only shared and has only referential rules. Differentiator. Culture operates a collective set of mindful mind that is distinguisher between members of one group from those of the other group. It is true that within the group, the individuals would have varying characteristics, yet collectively, the culture they belong to will significantly vary from other cultures. Contextual. The manifestation of culture occurs through social action, which in turn experiencing varying context. Even though the context does not change culture, the interpretation or sometimes misinterpretation of culture happens during one of these fluctuating contexts. And common yet different. There could be some aspect of culture that could be common between certain cultures, and yet there could be demarcated difference. Certain countries sharing the same language may project different cultures and vice versa. This possibly could be due to the reign through which the country has passed. And the next is theories of culture. What are the theories? Culture is based on how it is perceived. There are commonly three theoretical perspectives in the context of which culture is viewed: functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. Functionalism refers to perspective of viewing culture as a mode of smoothing the function of the society is a system with its parts working in tandem with each other to create a whole system. Culture offers a bonding to the system. And conflict view. This view suggests that society is constituted of individuals who can be classified on the basis of gender, class, race, age, etc., and hence there is a inequality that is created. According to this view, culture creates a demarcation, sometimes a discrimination for some people because of their value system. Symbolic view. The prominent proponent of the symbolic view assume culture to be based on the interpretation that people lay on the conversation they initiated. This view emphasizes face to face or one to one conversation more while reducing culture. It is suggested that culture evolves with conversations and thus is highly malleable and dynamic. It is interpreted as per the symbolism aligned with it. The people represent objects, individual, and environment during their conversation, and culture develop as a product of the same. Next is cross cultural communication. What is cross cultural communication? Definition of cross cultural communication: it is the study of understanding the difference and similarities of different cultural groups so as to effectively participate within an organization. In other words, it refers to the adaptation done by the people from different cultural backgrounds to make the communication effective. It is very important to understand the influence of cultural factors in a workplace in the present competitive environment. Need for cross cultural communication. Why is it necessary to understand the concept of cross cultural communication? It is important for the organization to understand the communication patterns of employees and the stakeholders to be successful in any business. The ability to adapt irrespective of cultural values make a lot of difference. While communicating with the individuals or groups from varied cultural backgrounds, the transmission of knowledge and the behavior play an important role. And element of cross cultural communication. What are the elements? Awareness, preparation, language, humor, openness. These are the elements of cross cultural communication. All of you know what all this awareness. Every organization has its own way of working. It is important that there is a common culture in the organization which helps the employee of the organization from different background to communicate effectively. Preparation. You need to prepare at least in terms of greeting when you meet international colleagues. It is not necessary that you should know each and everything about their culture, but the fact that you at least try to communicate in their own culture shows the concern. Language. The language is one of the most important part of communication. Each country has its own language for the purpose of communication. India is such a vast country with the diverse language across the country. You can roughly place them in a geographical region and a social or cultural grouping as soon as anyone talks. Humor. A saying goes that jokes do not translate the true meaning. It can be true at certain occasions where a humor in good sense can be taken seriously and may result in conflict. Openness. Apprehensive behavior is common, but there is no need to be shy about it. It is not a sign of weakness. Instead, it shows that you are cautious not to pass comments which may turn out to be inappropriate. However, it is important to be open while giving comments, and the feedback regarding the same may be requested. This will help you and your colleagues to connect with each other. Hofstede's cultural dimension model. Geert Hofstadter and Edward T. Hall are two of the most prominent contributors who have given some unique perspectives on culture in their theories. We will now discuss these theories in the following sections. Culture has been deeply explained by Edward Hall, an anthropologist and author of books like The Silent Language, The Hidden Dimension, Beyond Culture, Understanding Cultural Difference, etc., where he suggests that culture is a form of communication governed by hidden rule that involves both speech and action. He termed culture as a vast unexplored region of human behavior that exists outside the range of people's consciousness awareness. Hofstadter defined culture as the collective programming of the mind, distinguishing the member of one group or category of people from others. Based on research conducted in more than 50 countries, Hofstadter identified a total of six dimensions which could be used to distinguish one culture from another. Power distance index. This index defines the degree of inequality that is accepted and actually exists within people of a particular culture. Cultures showing high score have a unequal distribution of power across hierarchies. In countries like Malaysia, Mexico, Philippines, etc., have high power distance index (PDI) scores. All action have to be initiated from top. And next is individualism versus collectivism. These parameters make an effort to measure the prosperity towards attributing achievements and designing connections to an individual or a group, and the society's high on individualism indicate that more importance is given to individuality. For instance, in a society with a high score on individualism, success as well as failure is attributed to an individual. On the other hand, in a society with a higher score on collectivism, there exist very close ties amongst members of the society. Masculinity versus femininity. This attribute indicate who has a concentration of power and control in the society. It compares between a masculine work role model and a society which has low level of discrimination and distinction between genders. Next is uncertainty avoidance index. Countries can also be classified on the basis of uncertainty avoidance index, that is UAI. This index is a measure of the level of ambiguity and uncertainty which is acceptable in the society. Countries low on UAI are more flexible and tolerant to a variety of ideas and opinions. Countries like Singapore, Sweden, Hong Kong, Denmark, etc. fall under this category. long versus long versus short term orientation. The fifth dimension as suggested by Hofstadter is long term orientation. This dimension defines the extent of commitment to the traditional values. Countries high on long term orientation take a long time to change due to their long term embracement and respect to the traditional values. This is what is evident in countries like China, Japan, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Indulgence versus restraint. Hofstadter refers to indulgence as a tendency to free gratification of basic needs, enjoying having fun and fulfilling desires. Social freedom is high. Residents of countries like Venezuela, Mexico, Sweden, Puerto Rico, etc., are not motivated by materialistic versus drivers, and they are not status conscious, freely fulfill their desire, don't compare, and are self indulgent. Social status is of prime importance. Materialistic possessions and motivations allure the residents. Activity 1 is here based on this subsection, and the next subsection we will discuss on next video, that is Hall's cultural model. And today we will discuss half the day's cultural model. You just refer your Ignou study material also. In between any doubts, you just contact us anytime through contact number, or you just comment it on our comment box. Thank you so much.
i-tutor Academy presents Ignou Mba complete syllabus coverage classes for individual students, semester-wise subject with online and flexible timing. For more details, contact on +916 238 21785.